So I was hoping this would work, but it doesn't. So I'm going to put it back in the triples to see if I should be able to get that to work. I've got my Slavens Mule Raven cartridges to go in. I will see how we go. You need a lot of different tools to get the fork out. You need a 17 millimeter. You need the 49 millimeter to get the cartridge out the top. Then the Ravens need a 50 millimeter but 8-sided as opposed to a 6-sided like the KTM stuff. And then you also need a, what's this one? H12, I guess, like just a giant Allen to get this in. This one. This guy down here. Whoops. This guy down here. So yeah, there's just like this myriad of random tools you need to actually do this, to install these new, the Mule, Slavens Mule stuff in the bike. Super annoying because you need different set of tools, because this I got for my KTM stuff, which is right for KTM. It doesn't fit KTM, doesn't fit anything. They tell you to buy the Showa tool that has 46 and 50. You need that to install the Ravens, but I didn't realize that from their instructions. So you need a 49 mil to remove the KYB stuff. You need a 17 millimeter to remove the bottom of the cartridge, like actually uninstall the KYB stuff. Then you need a 50 millimeter 8-sided wrench, which that is not, to install that. And then you also need the giant H12 hex to install the Ravens. So you just need all of these random tools that they want you to have, and it's not 100% clear to me from reading their page and all that stuff, so we'll see how we go. Yeah. So next issue is that the spring length of the standard spring in the stock is 500 millimeters, and the calculations that Slavens and MX Tech have done rely on it being 450. So I started out with 210 millimeters with no lug screwed in, and ended up with 183 or 4 millimeters after I'd screwed it in. So there's like a shit ton of preload, and so I think it'll be not good. Just double check that to make sure I was measuring it there, but I'm gonna have to take it all the way out as far as I can on the adjusters here, and then see what it looks like, and hope for the best, because otherwise I'm just gonna have to order 450 millimeter springs from the right spring rate for me, which is really annoying, because I guess that's what happens when no one's really done it before, hence the dumb video. And here's the other trick I needed to do, because the bolt on the bottom is a pass-through situation, so you got to build something on there so that your way too long Allen doesn't go all the way through and not put pressure on it. I think that's what, like 1.5 centimeters or something. Okay, 76% mineral fork. I've got the Raven Mule, Slavens Raven Mule, or whatever the bloody weird terminology is, cartridges in my fork, so I'm going to try that out. Otherwise, yeah, just out for a test. 3 is 45, but chill, relatively chill curve compared to stock, a little bit over 50%. Got my tire pressures around 15. And yeah, just going out for a bit of test of the suspension, because suspension on the stock bike for me was just terrible. It was so mushy off the top that it was constantly just sitting in the mid-stroke and just hammering me on everything I touched, which was like so exhausting. So this is a good test of all of that, I think. There's nothing like a good bloody vertical rock garden to give you a test for your front end. 350 mils of 5 weight fork oil, 20 compression, 12 rebound. The fork springs in the stock KYBs and the stock are 500 mils. All of the instructions and setup on the Ravens are based on 450 mil springs. So I maxed out the preload, meaning as far out as I could go, and that was still 15 mils on these springs, which, you know, if the rate's actually too slow, which maybe it is, might be a good thing. But we'll see. So far I'm not getting bounced around like I was on the stock stuff. But we'll see. I still struggle to hold on to this bike. Very seriously. Considering, oh god, that was bad. Very seriously considering steg pegs. And that's not to say it's not doable. It's just it's hard for me. You know, I'm bad at stuff. Yeah, gonna have to flip the goggles around already. It's a 90+ degree day here, so it's warm. So I'm gonna have to take my time. See how far I decide to go up. Oh, going into neutral too early. Just a heck back. Gotta change the neutral timer settings. Time to neutral. Oh, bro. 60 seconds is way too freaking short. Especially when you're riding on a trail, man. Alright, whatever. Let's go. Ooh, that's a slippery rock. Move way on back there. It's scary when you start pointing towards the edge of the road. Wish I was better at technique, man. Practice more. Well, already the front end feels better. That was a bad line. Yeah. Okay. %. Well, the big factor is I have to check to see what happens to what the rear end feels like as well. Now that I've got the front end basically completely different. And the spring rate's the same, but the damping is a whole different thing. Here's a little jump. Oh, that felt a lot nicer landing. Creek crossing. And hill. Just rip the bike. Hi, it's just me. Practicing front end hops, you know, precursor to pivot turns and lift and stuff at home. And I was getting a bit of a feel for it. It is still hard though for me. You know, I've never really been any good at wheelies and lifting the front whatnot, so like it's not like this makes it harder. In some ways it's easier, you just give it gas and hope for the best. That's not what I'm doing, obviously. Here's the next rock garden, I think. Yeah, so I put those zip ties on the front end to try and check how much travel I was using, but they I think they just fell down. I don't think they're actually measuring travel at this point. Yeah, let's stop. Getting heavily offline there. Whew, it is hot. To the Y.
think I made the front end a bit longer too. When I took the forks out and put them back in, put them at one line, but I think factory it's actually higher than that. Meaning that the bike is more on the nose from factory. I also adjusted the handlebar position back to 0. So a few different things, I think, making the bike feel a bit weird compared to what it was last time I rode it. Balance is fucked today. I'm just not riding well generally. Struggling with my balance and my lines and everything. There's air out of the tyres too, so I can't blame it on that. It's just me. Yep. This is where we were climbing up the snow last time. I need to take some compression out of the shot. I'm sitting down there because I'm obviously tired and that's conserves energy. Trying to channel my inner Birchie and actually balancing my body, not with my handlebars. I'm also struggling with that. Oh, this was I think this is where the avalanche was. I think that's where we ultimately stopped. Yeah, well. No. Run for big. say the back brakes for stability and the front brakes for stopping. But I think on this thing, you need the back brake to be a little more for stopping than it is. It's just a little too soft. And it doesn't even want to let you stop rolling backwards on a hill without cranking it as hard as you can. It's a bit much, I think. This is why this is so good for practicing rock gardens, because it varies heavily between straight up super hard rock gardens to like gravelly loose things and all of that. There's a lot of hairpins to be made. Shocker, more rock gardens. Oh, that was not ideal. Oh, and I do wish they have power maps. I wish they had torque map. There's stuff like that where you kind of just give it the tiniest bit, and I'm sure I'll learn to like better. Eventually I might suck less too, but give it what feels like the tiniest little bit more, and it spins the tire. Fuck you, dude. Little stretch to go. Stand up and ride, dude. Come on. Yeah. I've got this downhill section. Now I know why I didn't do this downhill section. Fair enough. Huh. Yeah, alright. Well, I think that's an end to it here. I don't really want to do that by myself, especially trying to get back. I suppose you could bulldog it down the hill, which would be fine. But yeah, that's the top. Let's see, we're going to try and get some bad video of me doing bad technique. And you'll all see it because I don't mind people seeing how bad I am at stuff. Didn't loop the bike, so that's a plus. Anyway, that's all scary. That's why I'm not doing that to the mine. I'm gonna ride back down, see how much we burn. 55.